Hey everybody, it's Pete. Welcome back. If you're trying to swing trade stocks right now, while you have a full-time job, you're probably getting a lot of gray hair like I have right now. You're probably checking your phone in between meetings, finding it impossible to try and pay attention to work while you're trying to pay attention to the stock market, while your 401k is looking nothing like it did 2 weeks ago. Today, I'm going to walk you through from start to finish how I trade, swing trade specifically full-time without having to worry about whether I'm checking quotes all day. And one of the biggest things that we have, especially with new people that come in and ask for our help, is how am I supposed to do that? How am I supposed to trade full time? How am I supposed to have all these meetings and work responsibilities, family responsibilities, and watch the market at the same time? And the answer is you're not. That's actually the problem. The problem is this system that you're trading right now is forcing you to look at the market when you're supposed to be trading on bigger time frames and looking for those bigger moves to get the freedom that the stock market is eventually supposed to give you in the first place, which is why we all started to swing trade stocks in the first place. So I'm going to walk you through from start to finish, and I want to show you where we're actually going to end up. This is actually where we're going to end up talking about. And this is one of the things that we have in our community, which is the power pyramid. Now, the power pyramid is basically a process from start to finish building great ideas. And I'll pull that back up on the screen. And it essentially starts out with, is there anything going on in the market right now that I need to know about? And how do I put all of that news in the market into the context of a trade? If there's no news that is significant, which hasn't been the case recently, then we just work our way over into reading what we call the order flow. I want to do a little bit of a definition here. Order flow is basically institutional supply and demand. So there's these big funds, hedge funds, sovereign funds, banks, insurance companies, pension funds that have a lot of money and assign that money to to fund managers, portfolio managers who have all this capital and eventually have the research, right? And they decide to put that to work. That's the definition of order flow. Order flow stacking, which is something that we created, is paying attention to how that order flow is allocated to the market over days, weeks, and months. And we call that order flow stacking because they're building positions, they're accumulating shares, and they're distributing shares. Now, the second phase of order flow stacking is basically how long have they been doing it? Is it one giant green candle, one giant red candle, and that's it with big volume? Or has it been happening over time? Has it been going on for days, weeks? Have there been pushes and pauses? So there's two different layers to order flow stacking to first set up the ideas, which is, again, in this power pyramid. If you want to take a screenshot, you can take a screenshot right now. So we're basically starting out with the core principles. First, we're identifying it's institutions that are moving the market. Then we're looking to see how long they've been moving the market. And then we look to work that order flow stacking into sectors and industry groups. So we start out on the bottom with the concept of we are not predicting the market. And I want to be very, very clear about that. We don't predict. None of what we do is predicting. We are essentially saying, where is the smart money, the institutions putting their money now? How long have they been doing it? And then we take a peek. Are they doing it in a very specific sector or industry group? And then we work our way all the way down to whether or not there's an optimal entry in that idea. So when I show you this power pyramid again, I want you to visualize that you're at work and you put in all of the time to say, I'm building an argument for this idea, which is why I can go and enjoy my life. Because if I did a good job of saying, and I want to be in it for this reason, I want to be in it for this reason, I want to be in it for this reason, then that's basically the hard work. After that, we let the trading plan, or the trade script, as we call it, do the heavy lifting, which is essentially we're placing our orders outside of market hours so that we can go and enjoy the life, which again is the whole point of why we became swing traders in the first place. So I want to I'm going to go back over to this here and walk you through it. So obviously the foundation of order flow is what we just covered. Now we're going to go up one layer and work it at a time. So essentially we're looking at the market, the sectors, the industry groups, stocks with stacked order flow, and then ultimately a stock that has an optimal entry. So I just want to be clear about this. There's 4 stages. The concept of order flow stacking, which is what we just covered. Then within that, once we understand what we're looking at and why, supply and demand by people who have the money that can move the market around, we then layer, and we're looking for a foundation, which is exactly why we have this as a pyramid. We're basically saying how much of this foundation is under the idea that I'm looking at. So if we start out with order flow in the 3 major indices, we're looking at the Dow, the NASDAQ, and the S&P. That's the heaviest layer because that's the biggest portion of the market. We have that foundation under us and it's obvious, we can now move up a layer and say, okay, the market is obvious. are there any sectors doing the same exact thing as the market? So we kind of work our way over into, let's say we'll look at FinViz right now, which is probably one of the more popular softwares. We'll now work our way into industry groups. And this actually just happens to be for today. And you can actually see here, this big box is technology. And then within technology, you can see there's semiconductors, there's software infrastructure. So our job is to work our way up through the pyramid to find everything that's on the same page. So I just want to be clear about this, because we get a lot of people talking about the risk on an idea. The quality of the idea is the real risk in the trade. So the better job that we do of building that argument, of looking at the power pyramid and saying all of these layers are together, that's where we get our conviction from. And that conviction ultimately gets to the point of building an argument for how committed do we want to be to this trade, both from a position sizing perspective, which goes up or down based on conviction, and expectation for follow through, which basically means how long do we expect this thing to move? And all of that's going to play into the trade management part of the idea. So what I want to walk you through now, after we have the foundation in place, market, sector, industry group, stocks that meet that criteria, now we're going to walk through the actual process of doing it. So let's work our way over into the very first thing, which is news. When I wake up in the morning, first thing I have my coffee, I want to know what's going on. I want to get a picture of the sentiment before I dive into the actual charts, because there's stuff that's going to influence whether or not there's news. FOMC announcements, FOMC minutes, anything like that, any big earnings like NVIDIA this week, is that going to influence anything? And I want to show you kind of like a ninja thing of how I look for stock market news using AI. And essentially, I'm curating a bunch of newsletters into my inbox, and I put them all into one particular folder in my inbox, and then I run this prompt, basically. And all I have to do, because I have the custom instructions behind it, is I'm basically putting in the date of when all that news hit my inbox. And it's all just related to the market. And you can actually see here, this is from today. And it's giving me a summary of all of the important ideas going into the day. And quite frankly, areas of the market where I should be paying attention to, where there's a catalyst for that particular day. You can see here, Intuit reported earnings. Gap and Ross Stores both had some good news this week on guidance. IBM and Cisco. So now I'm starting to curate my list of where I might pay attention. And when I start to get into the sector-specific ideas, I'm going to work my way into particular sectors, particular industry groups, and then ultimately get to the point where I pick stocks. Now, this happens to be a daily roadmap of the S&P 500, but if we go out to the last month, it's a very different picture because of how hard the market's pulled back. And you can actually see right away, Google has been strong, so we should have some attention there because institutions have their attention there. And then obviously in the bottom corner over here, the bottom in the middle, you can see healthcare has been very strong over the last month as well. So I just want to make sure I don't go past this part. What's very important here is that when you are simply shadowing what the institutions are doing, as opposed to guessing what's going to happen next, in my opinion, trading, swing trading specifically, becomes a lot easier to engage in the stock market, because now we're just moving along with it. And then we're kind of flipping the script on this, which is instead of predicting where it's going to go, we have protocols in place that tell us if it's still valid or whether or not it's changed, which makes it a lot easier because we're in control of the process, not in control of the price. And when you kind of think about flipping the script on that, it makes it a lot easier to just go to work because we're in control of how we interact with it, which again is not during the intraday, which is the whole point of swing trading. So I want to move over and now walk you through how I put all this together at the end of the day, and then how I meet with our community to discuss all these things, which is kind of cool because every day at 8:30, we have our game plan meeting pre-market, and then we review not only member ideas, but also do a recap of everything that we talk about. So what I want to walk you through is once I have the news and once I have a feel for where I'm going with what's important for the day, then I start to put this all together into what I call my daily ticker, which is my research. And I do this research every day for myself as well as for the community. And you're going to notice here in the daily ticker that I do the same exact thing that I just showed you in the power pyramid, which is basically walking us from the market to the sector to the industry group to stocks with order flow right up into which stocks that have optimal entry, which, by the way, my software does this for us. We actually have, we built software that basically gives us all of this behind the scenes where we have it broken down by the strength of the individual sector. So let's go into energy, for example. And then from there, we have stocks that have optimal entries as well as order flow stacked within those. So it's really kind of an easy way to do it. We actually call this easy scans. It just happens to be one that we built ourselves. But a lot of people will use FinViz. So I want to walk you through what I just said. So you'll actually see here, as we work our way down, I'm doing this for everybody every day, where I'm basically working through, starting at 5 o'clock, 4:30 in the morning sometimes, and saying, here's everything I'm seeing in the market. And you can see here how I'm breaking it down, start to finish. So as we go through it, first off, I want to give you an idea of how I coach everybody, which is yesterday, the market, again, if you happen to be watching this video at some point in the future, this was yesterday's market condition. So I'm kind of coaching everybody through how to trade. And I think it was very easy to feel like you might have been the only person who didn't have a read on the market yesterday. So I wanted to give a little bit of reassurance to people in the community that if you got caught on the wrong side of yesterday's decline, you were one of a million people who got caught off guard. So anyway, you could read that and pause that if you want to go, but a little bit more in depth. So now we're getting into the news. So again, I just showed you one of the ways I curate the news. So I'm basically kind of formulating in my head what is the most important thing for me to be watching right now and why. As we walk through earnings and crypto and the Fed and bubble fears, I'm trying to give the community, from my 25 years of experience, what's important to pay attention to this week and now, right? Then we work our way down, again, right from the power pyramid. I work my way into market analysis. And you can see how I'm basically giving levels, I'm giving conviction, I'm giving the bias, I'm giving how long that bias has been stacked, which, by the way, the current market has been bearish to messy. So if you've been swing trading right now and it's kind of driving you crazy, keep that in mind. You're not the only one who's having a hard time reading the market right now. So we go from the market on down into sector rotation. Again, there's other stuff in here, such as what economic reports are coming out. Today happens to be options expiration as well. And then you can see we have some proprietary scans and research on sector rotation, both over the day, the week, and the last 4 weeks, to get an idea. Again, as we talked about before, stacked order flow. Where is the money? Where is the smart money paying attention right now? So now I'm giving some more insight into how we should be trading the current market conditions, what you should be looking at from a capital allocation perspective. In other words, where should the attention be, and for how long should we be taking a commitment based on the way the market's trading? And let's be clear, the market's a mess right now. It is anything than what it was even just a month ago. So we're a little bit more in capital preservation mode. So we went from market to sector down to industry groups, and we work our way through specific industry groups to get an idea of where we should be looking to allocate our money at that particular time. So that's basically my process from start to finish. I wake up in the morning and I have no preconceived notions. We start to look and get it all curated into my inbox of what's the particular news, which is a lot easier than scanning all over the place. And then working my way over into, okay, I have a bias of what the sentiment is right now. I also have a pretty good idea of which stocks are in play, which ones have catalysts. Are there any economic numbers coming out? For example, this week, we finally got some data now that the government shutdown's over. And then that kind of gives me an idea of conviction level. Then we go to the charts and we start to look for stacked order flow using the power pyramid. I'm actually going to pull that up for you right now one more time if you want to take a screenshot of that. So again, one more time, order flow is the dominant buying and selling pressure in the stock market. Order flow stacking is how long that's been going on and which sectors, which industry groups, and which stocks, ultimately leading to the point where we then start to look for stocks that are at an optimal entry. And that's the start to finish of how I'm able to swing trade while working full time and enjoying life around not watching every uptick and downtick. So if you have any questions about that, leave a comment below. I'll be more than happy to get to you. And if you're not a member of the channel yet, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, because we're actually going to be opening up the community chat soon. It's kind of like a private group. You just need to be a subscriber to join that conversation. All right. Have an awesome day. I will speak to you soon.